Hey YouTubers, Rob here looking at another Commodore 64 game. This time we're looking at Firetrack, a 1987 release, and was well known and was written by the well-known programmer Orlando. It was originally released on the BBC Micro as well as the C64, and I believe the BBC was the original version. So to see how it was brought over to the C64, which was, although it had much nicer graphics capabilities, the C64 ran at like half the speed. The BBC was that much faster than the C64. That there are a lot of effects you could do in software, although that had a little less RAM. So I'll be intrigued to see how this Commodore version handles. One thing I really like is that this little animation where you see your formation sort of peel away, but also the fact that it's auto fire. Maybe I've just gotten used to playing a lot of shoot 'em up games on my iOS devices, but a lot of them, because you don't have the fixed stick and buttons, you're just moving around the screen with touch gestures. And it's sort of the same thing here, where all I'm having to worry about is just positioning and just letting my craft take out everything. Kind of appreciate that. Graphics are they're simple, simple graphics. They're nice, just. And it's sort of vertically scroll, and the game sort of reminds you a lot of Star Force, which I think is sort of common. You sort of scroll vertically, you don't have a lot of power-ups, you just have to destroy ground and air targets. Oops. And the graphics are, like I said, it's a nice smooth game. Quite enjoying it, just for the fact that you don't get hectic. The formations aren't insanely hectic, you don't have to worry about hammering the fire button down. There's a few little differences in mechanics. Is sort of that rather than collecting like one-up power-ups or for a score, you pretty much have to destroy a lot of those sort of ground targets. The plot itself is kind of interesting. You're essentially being tasked to sort of raid a bunch of pyro facilities and take them offline. So what happens is you have to actually play each stage twice. First stage is sort of doing a raid and taking out the reactor facility, then you're sort of doing a cleanup after that. So this is the reactor facility, and you basically fly by, do a pass, try and take out as many of these little targets as you can. Interesting here that the enemy fighters that were attacking me just then can't actually be destroyed, so you can only avoid them. Sort of an interesting twist. I can't think of many shooters that do that for actual active enemies. Like, there might be installations or objects in the scene, but not actual sort of enemies following paths. So I've taken out the facility. Now we're doing the night raid, which is sort of on the stage where it's now powered off. So I thought it was an interesting touch. Yeah. Ooh. Controls feel a little floaty. I feel like it almost feels like there's physics applied, which is interesting. I mean, usually with a shoot 'em up like this, you kind of want to have very straight controls. So they try to input quick, but you sort of have that. And what I mean by physics is it's not like it's basically that there's sort of that drift when you let go of the joystick, which is interesting to say the least. Interesting that it's been Orlando chose to do that here with the controls. So that's a game over. Interestingly enough, you actually can continue where you left off, which not a bad actual design choice. So, oh no, in this case we're back on level 1. Yeah, I was playing earlier when I got to the to that game over screen. I was on that second stage, and it let me pretty much resume. So all in all, presentation's a bit spun. Like, you just have that title screen for your high score overlaid on the screen, which it sort of does feel a bit of sort of an arcade track mode kind of thing, but also I guess in this sort of day and age, sort of felt a little non-standard. Got some nice graphics and sound effects. So I mean, I don't think it. From what I'd say, it got some rather great reviews back then. It's quite fun. I guess it just doesn't really push the C64 as hard as one might expect, and maybe it definitely doesn't. And I think that's just an aftermath of not originally being designed for the C64, but coming from another platform that didn't have the kind of graphics capabilities the C64 did. And which would make sense why you have an auto-fire, as I believe joysticks on the BBC were more analog style affair, the kind of thing you would expect for playing a game like Revs or Elite, which are some fairly big name games on the BBC. So, take the react out. There are the two black sort of orb targets. Here's the second one, so why not take that out? Cool. There you can see all my bonuses. Now onto the night phase with... I always love that little ships peeling away animation. It's not that funny to think about. You'd think that by having, not having to worry about firing, and that this game would actually be a lot easier. It's like, no, it's still actually quite a challenge. I do like the fact you're not sent back to the start of the stage when you die, which would probably make this game a lot harder if you had to. I'm not a fan of that sort of checkpointing back to the start that a lot of games do use. Well, I don't like the fact you can't move across the entire screen. It means you've got to be careful. You can't use vertical movement to an advantage as much as you might think. So I don't got to spend a life after this one. Cool. So yeah, hopefully I can beat this second run of the first stage this time. As I'd like to know actually what lies beyond. That's an extra life, thank goodness. Yeah, I never played this game back in the day. In fact, I only heard about it when I was looking at other emulation back in the... Alright, so I believe that's now the first stage done. Ooh, new music. And a palette change. So from what I understand, there's 8 sectors you need to fly through. Of course, having to do those twice, so it's a total of 16 stages. Which is going to be quite a challenge. I mean, if I found it this hard to get to level 2, certainly be in for a long challenge to try and master it. But I guess it's a sign of a good game. Yeah, it's easy to pick up and play, easy to understand how it works, but a lot of work to be able to master. So that's Firetrack on the C64. It's a great, if a little spartan vertically scrolling shooter. Definitely one to check out if you're a shooter fan. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to bringing you some more C64 games in the future.